Welcome again, our video friends. We appreciate you joining with us on another Lord's Day morning. Beautiful morning this is in the fall of the year. Winding it down now in the month of November. I can hardly believe that the time moves as fast as it does these days. Seemed like it was just the start of September the other day. Now here we are, past midways through November. I mean, it just amazes me how time seems to fly by. I wonder if somebody's actually sped the world up. I wonder sometimes. But time is only here for a while, so we better make the most of it. But we appreciate you joining with us. And if any of you has a prayer request, as some have before, if you'd let it be known to me, I'll promise that I would pray for you and that I would ask God for you on your behalf. And I know you can pray yourself, but if you'd like for me to pray for you, if you let me know the request, I'll promise to pray for you. And I do pray for the subscribers and the viewers of these videos. And perhaps there's those of you who would like to share them with others. And I know that some of you have done that very thing, and I appreciate that, and I hope that's a help and a blessing to you. And I try to stay in the Word, and I believe the Bible exactly as it's written. And sometimes people get offended about that, and they don't want to hear that. They want me to spiritualize or want me to tell them a fairy tale or something like that. Nonetheless, I do believe the Bible, so just chalk me up for that. I'm not going to change about that. My friends, today we're studying about Isaac again, chapter 25 of Genesis, down in verse 22. We have read previously that Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Verse 22. And the children struggled together within her. Obviously, so she knows here there's more than one child. Obviously, she's about to have a set of twins. And they're struggling within her. She knows something's going on. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. Now, we like Rebekah right here, who has faith in the Lord, and she goes to inquire of the Lord. So we got quite a generation of family members here who go to inquire of the Lord. And may I stop to remind you, this was a wealthy woman, Rebekah was, because she was married to a very wealthy man, and who even got wealthier while she was married to him. And in spite of her wealth, she goes to inquire of the Lord. That is a great commentary on the life of Rebekah. Sometimes we think of her as the conniving one about the plan to deceive Isaac about the sons. But right here we read some very positive things about Rebekah. First of all, we know in her life that she said, yes, I will go with this man from her own country, a man whom she had never seen. She'd only seen the tokens of him through the servant who came and brought the bracelets and earrings and the pieces of gold and silver, and said, my master has much more than this, much more. And I wasn't a drop in a bucket to what Isaac was worth. But now we see she's married to Isaac, and he has become the heir of all that Abraham had. And now she is a very wealthy woman, She brought to her from her mother and dad handmaids and servants. And then, not to mention all the servants perhaps she had at her command from the household of Isaac. So we read here about a very wealthy woman. But what is she doing? She goes to inquire of the Lord. What about the doctors and the medicine men and all this stuff of her day? She may have talked to those, perhaps, but right in the midwives, we know we had those people. But right here, she's inquiring of the Lord in the matter. And I tell you what, Isaac had a praying wife at this time, no doubt to that. Wealthy she was. But yet, in spite of that wealth, she didn't trust in that wealth. When she felt these children struggling within her womb, she inquires of the Lord, what is going on here? What is taking place? And she's praying to the Lord. And we read right here, excuse me, that the Lord heard her prayer. We'll read what he told her here in just a minute. But let's think more about this fact that she prayed, she called upon the Lord in spite of her wealth. Now, it may be you're blessed in life, you have much in life, and you're you're wealthy and you're not worried about the financial matters of tomorrow, and you've got good insurance policy, you've got good retirement at your disposal, but yet, and you don't have to pray about groceries or fixing the car or where you're going to live or all these things. Uh, just remember, Rebecca had more than probably most anybody listening to me would have. But she prayed unto the Lord and besought the Lord too. And he heard her prayer. What about this? Let's read on here. And the Lord said to her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Well, that's quite an answer from the Lord, isn't it? I mean, he said a lot here. So it's going to be two nations within your womb. That's what you can. And two different types of people. And they were. There were two different nations to come. There were two different types of people. Their mannerisms, their characteristics, all different. And he also said, and they shall be separated from thy bowels. He said, the one shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. What about this? We read more about that over in the book of Romans as we read Paul's. He talks about God's purpose of the nation of Israel, how how Jacob he loved, but Esau he hated. Even before the children were born, even before they were born, it was predetermined by Almighty God that one would be the son of the promise to carry on the covenant that he had made with Abraham, and the other would not be that son, and which was referring to Esau. Jacob was the son that was to be loved, and Esau was the one that was to be hated. And we read that in the Bible. I don't try to change that. It's what it says it is in the writings of Paul. It's hard for us to conceive that, but that's what the Bible had to say about them. And I, I don't believe for 1 minute that meant that Esau went to hell. Now, he may have, but I don't believe that's at all what God meant. I think he meant by that Jacob would be the one who was simply the one who would be the leader of the house of Israel, as he brought 12 sons into the world and became the 12 tribes of Israel. And it was not to be through the loins of Esau, but through the loins of Jacob. And I think that's what is intended there. And I don't see reading predestination of people to heaven or hell in that statement as some do. I just cannot see that. But right here we read the actual words that came from the Lord. It was prophesied about these two people, two different nations, two different types of people. And the elder shall serve the younger. And we'll see that unfold in the pages in the scriptures to come, how that the birthright was given from Esau unto Jacob. And we'll discuss that here in just the soon coming verses. But so the Lord gives Rebecca the answer to this, and something that no doubt she pondered about the whole time she carried these twin boys within her womb. And so the promise was made about these sons. It was predetermined about these men, the paths of life that they would be taking. The one would be granted to lead a nation, which from whom later would come the Messiah. The other also produced a great nation of people. As the Lord said, he said, there are two nations are in thy womb. Esau produced a great nation of people. Jacob produced a great nation of people. Both people different one from the other, one stronger than the other, and yet the elder serving the younger. Very unusual, isn't it? The Lord does what he sees fit in life and the formation of nations, and who can say unto him, what doest thou? He is that great of a God. And we've said enough about that, I believe, but we'll read on right here. The birth of Esau and Jacob. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. This is referring to like the mere man of the earth. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bare them. So he was 60 years old when these sons were born. So he'd been married to Rebekah almost 20 years when she conceived and she bare them. So time is passing as we study through the scripture. Always keep in mind, sometimes even between verses, it can be hundreds or decades of years and to pass even between verses. And when you get on over into the prophetical books of the Old Testament, sometimes there's not only hundreds, but also as much as 1,000 or 2,000 years recorded even within the same very verses. From phrase to phrase, you have to keep in mind that there is a lapse of time between some of those verses in the prophetical books of the Bible. As you read Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel, sometimes even within the same verse is references to thousands of years. And so we have to keep that in mind about the time frame and the passing of time in the scriptures as we read. Well, let's read on now. Right here is something else that takes place. Verse 27, it's called the sale of the birthright. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. We've got a house that's kind of divided right here in doing odd. We see mom and daddy who have formed favorites among the children. And may I say, I don't think that's a good thing. I would agree with them that it's a natural thing for us to have ones that we favor more than the others. But it's a bad thing to let that get out of hand, I'll tell you that. You create a lot of problems in your home. If you got more than one child, I would advise you as a father of 6, do your best. Try not to show partiality. Do your best. And you'll find it'll happen in spite of the best that you can do. And so just do your best to love each child and let them know that you love them, and to and try not to do things for one you don't do for the other. And try to, if you do something for one, try your best to do the equal or something equal to the other one. I know that's very, very difficult. That's very, very difficult because the needs of children are different, and so we have to walk a careful path there. But I would tell you this in your words toward your children: don't compare them one to the other. I'd pass that advice as a father who has raised children. Do not compare one to the other. Never say words like, "Well, your brother was a good child," or "Your sister was a good child. She never did this." You need to forget words like that. Don't let them ever fall out of your mouth. Put a button on that kind of a thought, and never say comparative words like that as to put one down and lift up the other one. You'll breed trouble. You'll breed discontent. You'll breed jealousy if you show much favoritism one to the other. I knew of one father who always bragged on his older son to his younger son, thinking that would encourage his younger son to live a better life. It did. It pushed that son so far away from him they were never reconciled, never on this earth. The boy overdosed on drugs and left this world very, very separate from his father and from the fellowship of his father. And I would never tell you who that is at all, never. But I've seen that in other cases too, I've observed in families. I remember one father, and I knew this personally, he'd always brag on the younger son. He favored the younger son. And he'd always brag to his older son about how wonderful that younger son was. And like the older son can never get much right, but the younger son, he had it all together. I tell you, that's not good stuff to get into. When you start showing favoritism one to the other with your children, you're going to cause more troubles than ever. Don't think you're going to help with that kind of stuff. You'll not. You will hurt. And so just a bit of advice, and I think I am qualified to say those things. And so be careful with what you say to your children. And remember here, there was some trouble that came along right here between Isaac and Rebekah and their favoritism of the children. It may have been that Isaac should have been more careful in what he was doing. Well, we're just about out of time here, so I appreciate you listening today. I hope this has been a blessing and a help to you, and hope to see you next time.